What's going on, Guardians? It's Elitist Tizzle here, and in this video, I'm talking about a subject that I've been wanting to talk about for at least 2 years now, and that is the community's over-reliance on dim links. Now, before you run to the comment section and leave a whiny comment, why not hear me out first? As I said, I've been marinating on this topic for 2 years now, so I've probably thought about it a lot longer and harder than you have, so listen up. Oh, and one more thing, before we get too far into it, this is not an indictment of Destiny Item Manager itself. This is the most helpful resource we have as Destiny players, and I use it every single day, and I'm extremely grateful to the amazing people who develop and maintain this website. You are doing God's work, and the community thanks you. I've actually left a link in the description of this video to donate to them. I donated $100 and encourage you to do the same. By all means, I get it if you can't afford it, but chances are, if you're still playing Destiny 2, then you've used their service a ton. I literally have it up on my side screen at all times when I play. I can't imagine life without it. So thank you, Dim. We appreciate you. Anyways, back to the video. When I first started soloing GMs, I would never include dim links in my videos. This is because I don't like to save dim links for one-off builds, and soloing a certain GM is a very niche build. So I would have to save hundreds of dim links just to do this. But here's the thing, I show my build in full at the start of every video, so there is not even a reason to have a dim link. The next time you boot up Destiny, you can just pull up my video, go to the very beginning of the video, and copy every aspect, fragment, and mod slot for slot if you like. No dim link required. So that is the first thing that annoys me, that people are too lazy to take 2 minutes to put on some aspects and fragments. But here's the thing, even if you copy a build, it will most likely not do you any good anyways, because if you're just copying it, you likely don't understand what is going on under the hood to get the most out of the build, what you have to do to make said build work. There are many interactions that go on between aspects and fragments that make a build good. Some are way more obvious than others. Like Consecration and Knockout is a no-brainer obvious synergy. Melee kills give health back, and Consecration makes melee kills super easy. But other builds are much more nuanced. And to me, this is why just copying a build is bad. Because if you don't understand it, it isn't going to work well for you. If you don't know why it works in certain content and not others, then you will just get obliterated when you're put into an activity where it doesn't naturally shine. I had a guy on my stream ask me why point contact cannon brace wasn't doing well on the arms dealer strike. Well, that strike is the opposite of a CQC strike. You have threshers and turrets that can kill you from very far away, you have a tormentor and a tank to deal with, phalanxes with shields that can be problematic for melee based builds. I could go on, but the point is that you have to design your build around the content. You have to know what you're getting yourself into. I made Lucky Raspberry look like a star in Inverted Spire, but that is just thanks to encounter design. There are lots of arc shields and many grouped up enemies, so naturally a build that chains Jolt is going to be perfect there. As for point contact cannon brace, it's a monster in something like Onslaught or Tomb of Elders, and I took it through Birthplace of the Vile, which is a very CQC centric GM, and it performed amazingly. But if a GM has long sightlines to contend with, you will get destroyed before you can even get up on the enemies. I have a whole build video breaking down this philosophy of build crafting, so give that a watch. And another video that I just recently put out that talks about this aspect of build crafting specifically. But back to the over-reliance on dim builds. I made a getaway artist build on Warlock for the start of episode Revenant, and in that build video, which is about 15 minutes long, I talk about how great it is and how you can set your mods up to the type of content that you're running. I took it into the day 1 dungeon and it performed very well. It had great ad clear for the first 2 encounters and good boss damage for the final encounter. But throughout the dungeon, I switched up my mods as I needed to, and in that build video, I talked about how it's totally customizable. If I took it into a GM, I would use leg mods that give me more abilities, and maybe a scavenger. But if you're using it on a raid boss, then obviously you would go with surge mods for more weapon damage. As such, I didn't include any mods in my dim link or my mobalytics link, because in that video, I literally talk about how you should just set your mods up to suit the activity. I then made a damage over time build on Warlock with Necrotic Grip. I like to theme a lot of my builds, and this one was all about dot damage, so some of the weapon suggestions were Area Denial Frame GLs and Anarchy. Because, why? They do damage over time. And people were crying that they don't have Anarchy, that there was no way they could run this build because they don't raid. You do not need Anarchy for this build to go insanely hard. Thorn and Osteostriga would pair perfectly with this build as well. I was just saying how I like to use it. but the build itself is weapon agnostic. The point of the build is mostly the damage over time from your abilities. I use Devour with it for high grenade uptime and amazing survivability, but I've used that build with Bleak Watchers, Hellion, and Lightning Surge, all to great effect. I used Hellion in a solo Lightblade clear, Bleak Watcher in a solo Proving Grounds clear, and Lightning Surge in a Tomb of Elders clear. And in every one of those clears, I just picked the best aspect for the job. And that is because I designed the build around the content, not the other way around. And as for weapons, again, I just said what I like to use to build into the dot fantasy. Dragon's Breath would be a perfect replacement for Anarchy, especially outside of this act when Concussive Reload goes away. Or just run literally anything else that you want to run and just use the base version of the build. The point I'm trying to make is that builds are flexible, not rigid. There's no one-size-fits-all build, and the sky isn't falling if you don't have the specific role a content creator says that they like to use for the build that they run. Just substitute in whatever the hell you want. It isn't that hard. But above all, I want this video to maybe inspire you to think for yourself. I'm an extremely independent thinker and I loathe groupthink. And my content is centered around teaching players how to be better at Destiny. I give GM commentary so that they know the spawns and what to do and what not to do, so that they can learn and become better players themselves. When I make build videos, I often include info from Destiny Data Compendium so people can understand the math behind why something is hitting so hard. I want them to understand a build, not just copy it. Because like I said, if you're just copying it, you won't know how it works anyways, and therefore won't be able to use it to its max potential. Destiny is a game far more about knowledge than it is skill. I'm a perfect example of that. I'm not very skillful, but my content is designed to teach people. So when I make a build video, listen to my reasonings for running certain mods or fragments, and if something isn't jiving with you, then switch it up and make it work for you. That's the beauty of Destiny. Its build crafting is brimming with potential, and you can make so many things work. I made a video breaking down every aspect, fragment, verb, and ability for every subclass before Final Shape released. They are called Subclass School, and I thought they were going to get hundreds of thousands of views because of all the amazing info in those videos. Sadly, they performed like shit. And I have a theory that this is because people would rather be told what to run than to think for themselves and design a build that works for the content that they're running. This is the wrong mindset. I'm aware that this will probably be an unpopular video, but I wanted to make it anyways to maybe try and get through to some of you that you don't need to copy a dim link mod for mod to be successful in this game. Knowing the interaction of mods, aspects, and fragments, and how they all synergize together is far more important. Anyways, go watch my video on how to build craft so that you can make some builds of your own. I promise you that the most fun part of Destiny 2 is getting the most out of an exotic armor piece and making a build with countless synergies. So give it a try. Anyways, that's it. I just wanted to vent a bit and tell you to stop relying on YouTubers' builds. Half of them are clickbait designed for engagement anyways, and the other ones are often strong, but you don't need to copy them to a T for them to still be good. In fact, I often switch up my builds a little after the fact anyways, after some YouTube comment from another actual build crafter recommends something else, or I realize a fragment didn't work quite how I thought it would, so I swap it up for something better. I often solo a GM in the first couple tries, and then in my commentary, I actually say what would have been better to run. So even though I run one thing in the run, I would actually be more beneficial running something else. That is because you need to tailor the build to the content, not just copy what some YouTuber says and think it's a one-size-fits-all build. Anyways, thanks for listening if you're still here. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.